Joining me on the yellow table is Abhijit. Abhijit's come all the way from Cochin in Kerala. If you haven't been there, the backwaters are gorgeous, and actually the food's quite great too. Um, so Abhijit's startup, it's got a fascinating name, and I've got to know why this name. Because before we get into any of them, it's called 8x8.
Correct.
Right? Abhijit, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Arjun. It's my pleasure being here. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you coming in. Before we get into the conversation about you and the founder you are, tell me, what is 8x8? Where does that come from?
Okay, so 8 times 8 signifies the total number of squares on the chessboard, which is 64. And the company that I'm building, 8 times 8, is an edtech company that is making kids smarter through chess.
Oh wow, that's fascinating. I need to get my girls onto it. So
Absolutely.
if you want beta testing, send me a couple of instances and I will. So Abhijit, today's conversation is not going to be about 8x8. I'm sure down the line we'll meet again and we'll have a good conversation about 8x8. This is a conversation about you as a founder, right? You are terribly young to be taking on such a big challenge. So compliments to you. So I'll start with a very open-ended question, and I think from there, we'll take our 10, 12-minute chat. It's about 10 to 12 minutes. Have fun is what I'd say, right? Talk to me, how did you decide that you wanted to become a founder? Paint a story for me between the time you decided to become a founder and now that you're sitting in front of me,
Absolutely.
right? And try and tell me a couple of things in that journey which have, had an impact on you. Which have sort of, I guess, made you a better, stronger, more determined sort of founder,
Sure.
right?
Sure. So I remember having lots of discussion with my co-founders. Whenever we used to meet, we used to say that one day we'll do this, one day we'll do that, one day we'll go there. And I think this one day kept going and going and going. And it is when this one day became day one of action, of execution, that's when our lives changed forever. So I would like to tell you the story of how 8 times 8 started. So it started over a random Zoom call. I was having a random Zoom call with my friends during the COVID break. So one of my co-founders told me that he has a relative who then had a child who was 6 years of age. So she used to tell him that her child is facing a lot of issues lately, be it lack of attention span, lack of memory, lack of focus. And then we had a discussion with a lot of parents who said that even they were facing similar issues with regard to their children. And that is when it struck us that chess could be used as a creative solution to these problems, because chess is proven to improve lots of qualities in children, be it improving their memory, improving their focus, improving their concentration, attention span, etc. And then we started giving online live chess classes, and within the next 3 to 6 months we started getting amazing feedback from parents that they could see the transformation in their children. And that is when we decided to scale.
That's very interesting. So, and this was what, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago?
1 year ago.
Oh, it's 1 year ago, right? So you're a new founder.
Correct.
Right. So you came up with this idea. You guys all jumped head in, or head first, as they say it, right? What's the journey? How many co-founders are you?
So initially we had 6.
Oh wow.
So we
now?
started with a good number. Now we have 4.
Okay. All right. And so talk to me about the dynamics of all of you. 4 is a big number. How do you guys sort of interact and work together? But tell me how you guys have gone through the motions of, as they say that, everything goes through I guess a learning curve,
Correct.
right? So talk a little bit about that.
So I think all the co-founders in the team are childhood best friends. I met them at an under 9 chess tournament. So speaking about my chess journey, I've been an international level chess player.
Okay.
I was the Kerala state champion, national bronze medalist, and went on to represent India in so many international events.
Excellent.
So all my co-founders are from the chess background.
Okay.
So initially, as we were very new into the business, we always used to take decisions based on emotions. We had this notion that if the business is growing, all 6 of us should grow together. We should achieve success together. But one lesson that I learned the hard way is that you should never keep emotions in business. You should never take decisions based on emotions, because every decision that we have taken based on emotions have gone wrong. For example, we always wanted 6 of us to stay together, but as the business progressed, as we started visiting investors, we got to know that 6 is a really huge number if you really want to raise a lot of money and scale. So, initially we were very reluctant to reduce the number of founders, but we were forced to because we had no other option. So we had to take the call. And then I realized that only those decisions that is taken based on practicality, on rationality would succeed at the end. So we should never keep emotions in business. All the decisions should be based on rationality. So
Yeah, that's interesting, but that's pretty hard to follow through.
absolutely.
So how do you guys keep yourself honest?
Because initially we thought that nothing, every decision we would be very open in front of our people. So even if the decisions that we take starts hurting human emotions, we have come to that stage where we have realized that is okay. That's
Okay.
fine.
Interesting. But tell me about the trials and tribulations of someone who's starting a startup. I assume, you're a chess player.
Correct.
You're doing this full time, I'm assuming.
Correct.
This is your first startup.
Correct.
Right. Have you worked professionally before?
Not really. I have interned at the United Nations office in Geneva, but
Right.
which is very different from what I currently do.
So where do you go to learn business skills? So how are you crowdsourcing, if I may use that term, the basics of being able to run a business? I know you're building the aeroplane as it takes off,
Correct.
right? But how do you sort of crowdsource?
So that's a very interesting question, because we used to have this insecurity a lot when we started, because we were just in college when we started. We had no business background, we had no corporate work experience, no business experience. So we were very scared and very insecure. I had this thought that would somebody like this would be able to be a successful or at least a good entrepreneur. But while we went for investment, we were very peculiar or very particular that more than the money, we got a lot of offers where people were ready to invest a lot of money. But I was very particular that more than the money, we need to bring in somebody who could add value to our business. And we were very particular, and fortunately, we got a set of investors who from whom we raised the pre-seed funding. And I think more than the money, it is the value that they brought into the business. We see them as our mentors, we see them as our guides, and the value that they have brought into the business is far more than the money that they've invested. So I would again urge first-time founders to look for investors who, more than the money part, look for the value that they bring into your business, because they could help you so much if they are genuinely interested in building it with you.
Okay, so that's a very good point, and that sort of leads me into the next question here, right? So that's a great nugget of wisdom from you in terms of finding the right investors. And as you said correctly, it doesn't matter if you are someone with a corporate experience or not. You should find what I call intelligent money, not just dumb money.
Absolutely.
And there's been a lot of dumb money over the last 5 to 7 years,
Correct,
right?
correct.
What other learnings would you want to table at this stage to other first-time founders?
I think one thing is that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. So I remember I used to always feel that if I ask for help, that what would the other person think? Or what if they say no? But it took me a while to realize that if you don't ask, the answer is always no. But if you ask 100 people, at least few of them would say yes. And I think that yes would make all the difference. So I think there's no problem in asking for help. And I think as founders, we need to get out of that zone and we need to ask people for help and guidance.
Okay, that's one. Anything else you want to tell?
Then the other thing is that you have to be very frugal at your initial years of spending. Being a founder, I remember we took a very less amount of salary. We never invested in any luxuries. We used to invest back all the money that we made back into the business so that it could help us grow and scale initially.
Okay.
So
those are three very, very, I think they're very good advices. And I think you're actually being honest with it. Let me sort of put the dimension. You're a chess player, right? Chess players always think several moves ahead, right? So I'm going to have you now think several moves ahead, right? As you scale the business, right? As you become a bigger player, right? And your business goes beyond the 4 founders and, however many people you have now, you get into new markets, new dynamics which come up. What do you think are the 2 or 3 biggest challenges you are going to face as a founder? You, not the business, right? And being a chess player, what are the moves that you're already anticipating to help you overcome those challenges that you foresee?
So I think the biggest challenge would be management. How do you manage a large team? But one thing that I've realized is that the more we learn, the more we realize how less we know. So there's unlimited scope of learning until we die. So I think if you have a learner's attitude, no matter whatever problem comes in front of you, you will be able to tackle that. So I think one attitude that I always try to keep is that I try to be a forever learner. I always try to keep learning something new that we could apply into the business. And the other thing, I think the majority of the problem comes with how do you take up the entire team together with you. Let's say, every person is different. That's what I've realized lately, that every individual is different, and you cannot build a company without managing individuals. So you need to know every person, at least at the initial stage of your company. You need to know people, and you need to know how to deal with every person differently. And if your people are happy, your customers are happy. If the customers are happy, I think the business is also happy.
Okay, but let me challenge that thought, right? So, unfortunately, we all live in finite time, right? Well, we have finite time. Some people are very good; they can make 24 into 27 hours, but at that extent, you can't extend it. So, how are you going to guide? How are you guys going to cope with the idea or the concept that now you're having to do activities which you might not have found fascinating when you started the founder, right? What you really found fascinating was there's a problem out there, there's a solution I can build and I can solve the problem. But now you're having to be lumbered with, managing a team, having to deal with team dynamics, right? Resolving in-office issues, right? What do you think? So how are you going to prepare yourself for this, if I may say, 180-degree change in the environment, right? So what's your thought on it?
So I think as a first-time founder, one issue that I faced was that I wanted to do everything on my own. I thought nobody would do it as sincerely or as good as I do. But as we went by, I realized that you can never do everything on your own. So you should know what, when, and how to delegate. And once you delegate a particular task, you should give them the opportunity, give them the appreciation, give them the respect and space for them to do it themselves. We should never micromanage, for sure. So I think knowing what, when, and how to delegate is very important, especially when you scale. That thought process of founders that nobody is going to do it as good or as sincerely as we do should be taken out just like that.
So, Abhijit, last question because we're out of time. Are you still playing tournaments?
Absolutely. I love playing chess. I love following chess, but I don't play as much as I want to play or I love to play. But I try to keep myself in shape by playing whenever I get time.
No, so I must say, I'm going to say 2 or 3 things. A, fascinating concept, and I would love to hear more about, 8 times 8. We'll set up a call. I actually am quite fascinated because I have 2 young kids, right? And I think every young child these days has an attention issue, right? Largely because it's, iPads and televisions and TikToks and nothing against any of these things, but I think there is. So fascinating concept. And I love the way that you've brought a personal passion into a business world. So, hats off to you.
Thank you.
Your energy is palpable. Even an old man like me, this late in the day, feels energetic. So, keep that energy going, because I think it's going to hold you to good stead. And, the very best for the future.
Thank you so much,
I'm sure we're going to hear more about you in the future.
Thank you so
much.